Welcome to That's Good Sports. I'm Brandon. There is only one way to grade a draft city, Perna. Nashville, Tennessee. How did you fare on the Roger Goodell booing meter?
Good evening, Nashville. Welcome to Music City, home of the 2019 NFL Draft.
Respectable, Tennessee. I wish it was a little louder, if I'm being honest. Must be that southern hospitality I hear so much about, though. Shout out for the live Goodell booing clip sent to me on Twitter from Gabriel Daniel. This year, to start the draft, the NFL gave away season tickets to a fan for 100 years. Can you imagine if the Alliance of American Football did that same thing to start their inaugural season? Here's your ticket for 100 years. Less than a year. Less than a year, sorry. This is the only NFL draft recap show with the cojones balls to admit a third of the NFL teams just got a lot better, another third of the teams got a little bit better, and a final third of the NFL teams think they got better but just made a huge fucking mistake. It's the NFL Draft, the biggest event in the world that totally mocks the seriousness of the phrase war room. So let's recap the first round of the draft. That's good sports. Please subscribe here if you're new. Also, big shout out to Manscaped. They are sponsoring this show and they have been a huge supporter of That's Good Sports. You already know about some Manscaped products like the Lawnmower 2.0 for body hair trimming with skin-safe technology so you don't nick your nuts or nipples. Speaking of which, better, just the way my wife likes it. But Manscaped.com is about providing total body maintenance, keeping your skin and man hair cleansed and trimmed from head to toe. Literally. Now with the Foot Duster Foot Spray. This is my right foot. I call him Righteous, and I spray him once a day. This is my left foot. I call him Daniel Day-Lewis, and I spray him once a day. Not only does the Foot Duster keep your feet from smelling like disgusting feet, but it reduces bacterial microorganisms on the skin, features pH control, and is composed of all natural ingredients like tea tree oil, which helps repair dry skin. Plus, pro skater Windsor James endorsed it, so I'm assuming it makes you good at skateboarding too. Oh, yes it does. Use my link in the description or my promo code SPORT20 for your 20% discount at manscaped.com. Now, I love this. My new favorite player is Christian Wilkins, who nearly put Roger Goodell on IR. Had he done that, he would have instantly become the most popular player in NFL history. I actually heard Roger Goodell drug tested him backstage immediately after this hit. He made him pee in an assistant's mouth for instant analysis and results. He passed, but that assistant shall remain unnamed. Now, the Arizona Cardinals started the draft by selecting quarterback Kyler Murray first overall. Murray, of course, wore a suit so salmon-colored that pescatarians across the globe suddenly had an uncontrollable desire to eat at Red Lobster. The Cardinals got the guy they wanted all along, and somewhere Josh Rosen was watching in a dark, cold basement while his soul left his body and floated off towards his next team. Murray, who's maybe 5'10", played 1 year at Oklahoma and, like Baker Mayfield, won the Heisman Trophy and lost in the semifinal. And now he's going to a team that was terrible last year and used the first overall pick to fill a position that they traded up to pick last year. But at least his wait to be drafted was shorter than he is. My only question for Murray is, how does it feel to be drafted first overall by a bunch of fucking liars? Josh is our guy! Josh is our guy! Ha ha ha! Yeah, and I didn't steal Robert Williams' lunchbox in 3rd grade. Pick 2, 49ers take Nick Bosa. A lot of people thought the 49ers would be turned off by the fact that Nick Bosa only attended the draft because he thought Tennessee was still part of the Confederacy. I'm surprised they still drafted him after these family photos emerged. How can you trust a pass rusher that doesn't even know where the fucking camera is? Sorry, Coach Shanahan, I didn't mean to tackle your mom. Clearly, I thought she was the quarterback, even though I should have been looking over in this direction. All I've been hearing about Nick Bosa is that he's the safest player in the draft, which is stupid because I've seen him not even wear a seatbelt. Would people be saying that if Joey Bosa wasn't his brother? You know, for every Eli Manning, there's a Jordan Rodgers, a Jeremy Giambi, or a Dan McGuire. Like, just because my sister was good at breastfeeding her child doesn't mean I will be good at that with my kid one day. I don't even like milk. Bosa gets to pair up, though, with DeForest Buckner on a defensive line that's now loaded with 4 first-round picks, only one of which has proved he's worth it so far, though. The Bosas joined the Mannings to become the only other family to have a father and 2 sons all drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, to which Kyle Long responded, "If my dad wasn't such a scrub, we would all be first rounders." Suck it, Howie. Pick 3, the New York Jets take Quinnen Williams, Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley, Jamison Crowder. None of those free agent acquisitions for the Jets will be as important to them as quarterback Trevor Siemian. Godspeed, Siemian. I'm not sure why the Jets didn't trade Sam Darnold away for another first-round draft pick this year having Siemian on the roster. Instead, they just selected the best defensive lineman in Alabama's Quinnen Williams. Risky pick for the Jets, as Williams could become embroiled in another NCAA money scandal when it's revealed how he was able to pay for braces on a college football salary. Quinnen Williams might be the best player in this draft, pound for pound. And that's a lot of pounds, 300 to be exact. He anchored Bama's defensive line during 2018 and demolished some of the SEC's best offensive lines all year. It feels like the Jets are building something positive now with Quinnen Williams on the D-line. They're still lacking an edge rusher, maybe they'll address that later, but having Williams to clog up the middle and collapse the pocket from the inside against guys like Tom Brady is something very valuable. Pick 4, Oakland Raiders, Clelin Ferrell.
Clelin Ferrell. Defensive end.
Who the fuck's that guy?
Okay, this is interesting with a couple of...
You know what former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue used to always say about the Raiders, right? You can't spell Raiders without AIDS. The difference between the two is we've actually found a cure for AIDS, but not for the Raiders. The Raiders said they would have a surprise at pick 4, and they weren't lying. They took Clemson defensive end Clelin Ferrell. His greatest strength is that even with a knee brace on, he's still super flexible. The Raiders had the worst scoring defense last year, worst sacking defense, they just had the worst defense. Ferrell had 11.5 sacks in 2018. That's just 1.5 fewer than the entire Raiders team. I hate the Raiders, but I actually like this pick for Oakland. Had they done it at 24, where they probably still could have got him. Just kidding, solid pick. Pick 5, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or as most people call them, the team we keep forgetting has a top 5 draft pick. They took LSU linebacker Devin White. Tampa let Quan Alexander walk so Devin White could run. Arguably an upgrade if White lives up to his potential, and a perfect guy to pair with Levante David for Bruce Arians. Devin White is basically a Roquan Smith clone as an inside linebacker and gives you instant versatility and speed at the position. Not only does he come from the best conference for defensive players, he's got one of the best last names for defensive players. Randy White, Reggie White, Tre'Davious White. I realize there's a bit of a drop-off after Reggie White, but still. Pick 6, New York Giants, improved from the 2nd overall pick to the 6th overall pick this year and take Daniel Jones, quarterback from Duke.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Daniel Jones.
Before the draft, Rex Ryan said he was pounding the table for Daniel Jones. I couldn't imagine a worse thing to happen to a player on draft day than Rex Ryan screaming your name. A Rex Ryan QB endorsement is like a Bill Cosby drink endorsement. According to Daniel Jones' coach at Duke, and I quote, "Daniel Jones embraces something we believe in here. Real swag is no swag." That is the most nerd-like coach thing you could ever say. Abstinence. Real sex is no sex. First, Rex Ryan, and now this. I grade this pick as the biggest bust ever already. The Giants ended up with 3 first-round picks, taking the first corner at 30 in DeAndre Baker, a great addition to their secondary, and defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence, the 3rd Clemson player taken in the first round. I respect any defensive lineman who uses martial arts training to enhance his game. Dexter Lawrence, of course, blended techniques from Street Fighter, the Hadouken, and the philosophy of Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. Basically, the only chance you have at blocking him is to sweep the leg. Pick 7, Jacksonville Jaguars take Josh Allen. Picking in the top 10 is the Jaguars' consolation prize for being the most underperforming team in 2019. QB destroyer Josh Allen falling to 7 reminds me a lot of Bradley Chubb falling to 5 last year, and after losing Dante Fowler, this pick makes a lot of sense for Jacksonville. Josh Allen was one of the reasons Kentucky finally did something in a sport other than basketball this year, which is a huge compliment for an edge rusher. He's speedy with serious length and a lot of production to show for his talent. 21.5 sacks last year type crazy production. He could have left school a year early and been a late first round draft pick, but he stayed for his senior year, got better, and is going to make a lot more money as a result. Pick 8, Detroit Lions take tight end TJ Hockenson from Iowa. If Calvin Johnson was Megatron, Hockenson is Bumblebee. I want to say Matthew Stafford could really use a great tight end like Hockenson, but why the hell didn't he utilize Eric Ebron? Pick 9, Buffalo Bills take defensive lineman Ed Oliver. The Bills added like close to 20 players in free agency. 14 offensive players, I believe. I don't even know why they fucking drafted today. Probably to replace the production of Kyle Williams with Ed Oliver. Now, one reason Ed Oliver went top 10 is because he has almost perfected the wedgie sack. You better hurry before the NFL bans this style of tackling. Oliver chose to play college ball at Houston as a 5-star high school recruit for some reason, so he may lack proper self-esteem. He can play every position on the defensive line, but there's only one of him, so that may not be feasible. Oliver had 53 tackles for a loss in just 3 years and will look like a god sacking Tom Brady. Pick 10, Steelers select linebacker Devin Bush. It was reported before the draft that Pittsburgh was desperately trying to trade into the top 10 to select a linebacker. They traded to the 10th pick when the Denver Broncos were too stupid to take Devin Bush. A linebacker the Broncos could have used to fix one of their biggest problems on defense, covering tight ends and fucking running backs. Louis Riddick on the Dan Patrick Show said he thought Devin Bush was the best player in this draft.
For my money, pound for pound, the best player in this draft is Devin Bush from Michigan.
That's a ballsy thing to say about a linebacker. Riddick says Bush has no weaknesses in his game, basically making him better than any football player who has ever lived. Honestly, he probably has some stupid weakness, like the color yellow for the Green Lantern. Since he's a Steeler and not a Bronco, I hope it is the color yellow. Pick 11, the Cincinnati Bengals bitch out and take an offensive lineman. Okay, that's not fair. They took probably the best tackle in the draft, Jonah Williams. Williams is a truly inspirational story. The word bravery can't even touch on what it took for Williams to overcome his debilitating fear of elephants to play tackle at Alabama. Unfortunately, his second biggest fear is redheads. Pick 12, the Green Bay Packers surprisingly went defense, well, with both of their picks in the first round. First, it was Rashan Gary, and then they traded down to select safety Darnell Savage at pick 21. I don't know how you go wrong with a guy named Savage, unless he turns on his own teammates, like a savage would. Even though he already wears glasses and a vision-enhanced visor, Rashan Gary may only be able to see when he does this. I am sort of surprised he was selected in the first. He's never had the production of a top-end edge rusher because of injuries. 3.5 sacks last year and 5.5 the year prior. But at 6'5", 283 pounds of athletic freakishness, he's worth the high pick according to me. 13, Miami Dolphins took defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, my favorite player ever. Clemson's trainer should be proud they have the most flexible big men on earth. Christian Wilkins is a 315-pound defensive tackle that can do the splits like first baseman Mark Reynolds. If you ever don't want your son playing sports, just show him these images and tell him this is what he has to do if he ever wants to play sports. The one thing this draft lacked was a bunch of crazy early trades. All day, everyone was like, the Redskin potatoes will trade up to get Dwayne Haskins. Instead, they did nothing and got Ohio State quarterback Dwayne Haskins at 15. My advice for Haskins as a Washington QB, Never skip leg day. Then the Panthers take Florida State edge rusher Brian Burns, who had the best hype man in the entire draft.
Bottom of the first round, we're talking about trading up. Some teams early in the draft are wondering how far they could go back and still get Brian Burns. He's got the best get-off, quickness in this year's draft, coming off the edge. The question was the weight. He played in the 220s. He shows up at the combine at 249, and that was a big feather in his cap that teams were able to get past that weight thing, Coach.
The guy that people kept saying how light he was when he...
His greatest strength is his weekly post-game recap blog called Brian Burns, where he verbally roasts opponents he's dominated on the field. You just got Brian burned. Burns had 69 pressures last season. Somewhere, probably on a party boat, Gronk just shed a single tear. And these are the rest of the picks from the draft. I'm not going to evaluate all 32. I do the sexy picks. I'm only 1.5 min here with Wilkins helping me. I did think the Seahawks had money problems, which was confirmed after they traded back, and Pete Carroll posted this video of himself teaching piano lessons to help pay for Russell Wilson's new contract. The draft, of course, ended with the New England Patriots, who had 12 picks, and people thought they might do something crazy with that kind of ammo. They did. They didn't move up, they didn't move down, and shockingly, they did not select Andy Isabella, the guy most likely to be able to replace Julian Edelman and be way better than Julian Edelman, and I know for a fact Bill Belichick has had wet dreams about, but they didn't take him. They took N'Keal Harry, probably gonna be good though, but still, a real shocker. Anyway, that's your NFL draft recap. It's as good as I got for you. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, at Brandon Perna. If you want to follow me there, give my writing partner, at Wilkins6 a follow. He helps me write football stuff, and he has pretty funny tweets sometimes while he's not drinking too many fucking LaCroix.